Thank you for holding. How can I help you?
Yes, I just was, I wanted to call back and to leave Renee Johnson a message for social services.
Okay. And your name?
Jacob Snyder.
And Jacob, spell your last name for me?
Snyder.
All right. What's a good callback number for you?
It's 530-917-1340.
Okay. And what is the message you would like to leave for Renee?
Yeah, I just got a call back from her today. She left me a message. Was talking about the issue that I have with the last referral and I guess investigation into child abuse at my house. And she left me a brief discussion. Basically wanted to just leave her a message about that my kids were being abducted before that, and that I hadn't seen my two youngest kids for like 6 months before Alicia Endicott showed up at my son's school and did an interview with him. So my two youngest kids were gone; they were missing, and they were abducted. Me and my oldest son couldn't get a hold of them. And then 6 months later, basically after calling law enforcement and filing police reports and calling social services, trying to figure out what was going on with my two youngest kids being abused over at her at my ex-wife's house, Alicia Endicott showed up at my son's school and started an investigation, I guess, or a report against me with my oldest son. And so I wanted to call and clarify with Renee Johnson, like, what was happening prior to that incident. Because what she said on the phone to me, the message that she said to me was basically that that I had a restraining order against me, and that this was a family law case, and that I needed to go back to family law court because of the restraining order against me. And my point was, and that what I was trying to explain to Renee before, was that and going on way before I was arrested. This whole thing, the whole issue with my kids crying on the phone and being abused at her house, and my two kids couldn't use the phone. I mean, that's false imprisonment. That's abduction, and those things were happening prior to the last investigation and referral. And so what I was asking Renee on the phone the other day was why those things weren't investigated, and why my ex-wife wasn't arrested for child abuse 6 months prior to me being arrested. And so I kind of understand a little bit about why, the way that she left me the message and her explanation to me, I understand, because I understand the law, right? But my question to her, and my question would be to social services, is why the other things that were happening to my kids weren't investigated first, right? Because like, if my kids are getting abused over there and tortured and molested, right? And I'm calling around and asking for that to be investigated for 6 months or a year, right? And then all of a sudden I get thrown in jail because my son stepped on a nail. Like, I'm just confused about like what the process before that, So Renee Johnson, she left me a message today, and she said, the reason why I don't know where my kids are at right now, and let me be clear, okay? She said, the reason why I don't know where my kids are at right now is because I have a restraining order against me because of a case that was investigated by Alicia Endicott in January 2022. Okay, and my question before that, or my answer before that, was my response was, what happened before that, and why those things, and why the abuse and abduction of my kids wasn't investigated first. And then that's the problem that I have with this case, and the problem that I have with going back to family court, is because my kids were abducted prior to that. And I don't think that everybody understands really what's happened, or what happened to me and my kids in our lives. But my kids were abducted and kidnapped from Sacramento County. And because of a current court order in Shasta County, because of a judge in Shasta County, my kids were basically forced to stay here in Shasta County, and we were never able to go back to Sacramento. And so, like, when you say current court order, right, or that it's a family law dispute or a family law argument or a legal argument, right, then that's facilitating the abduction of my children. Do you understand? Because there was already a court order in Sacramento County. And it doesn't matter how many it doesn't matter how many years later, right? It doesn't matter, like, if 7 years later or 10 years later or 20 years later, it doesn't matter. And by law, we lived in Sacramento County, and by law, there was a court order in Sacramento County. And so right now, I called Renee Johnson to have an investigation started into the abduction of my children and the abuse that's been going on over at her house. And my ex-wife's house, and I don't know where my oldest son is at right now, because he had his own phone with him, dude. You know what I'm saying? And so like social services response to this whole problem, it's just like, it's confusing to me, because there was never any abuse at my house. My oldest son lived with me because her new husband's abusive, and we had a restraining order against him. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after my two youngest kids were missing for 6 months, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Reading Police Department shows up at my house and takes my oldest son away. And so like calling and leaving me a message back saying that there's a restraining order against me. Like I'm aware of that, but that doesn't mean that my kids couldn't be kidnapped and abducted or abused, and it's somebody else's house. Like do you understand I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated at this whole entire case, right? But I'm also frustrated with social services and child protective services, because these things were never investigated. And they've been getting abused at her house for the past 6 years, man. And every time she gets away with it because of a freaking restraining order against me. And that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay. I will leave a message for Renee and ask her to follow up with you, Jake.
Well, yeah, or I would like who do I call to report these things? Because I've called law enforcement and I've explained these things to law enforcement, and every single department of public services in Shasta County says the same exact thing. They say it's a family law case or a family law dispute, or it's a family, like I have to go back to court. But if my kids are getting abused and abducted, or kidnapped, right? And I have to go to family court with the judge that signed the freaking court order for her? That doesn't make sense. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened to me for the past 7 years of my life up here in Shasta County. I keep getting arrested and thrown in jail, and for no reason. Like, in my opinion, for absolutely no reason. Last time, my son was perfectly happy here. And nobody knows where he's at to talk to him about it, and to ask him his opinion about it.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I don't have any suggestions as to who you can talk to beyond what you are already doing. But I will leave a message for Renee for you, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye.